Another Civil War week is upon us, and we've so far had a good week of practice. And I've been working hard at trying to figure out how to end this skid. But I like the way the guys have been playing in practice, and I think it comes down to defending and rebounding. We defend and get rebounds. We'll be in a good position to win the game. With that, I'll open it up for questions.
How's the health of the team right now?
The health is pretty good. Everybody's fine. Eric's got a tweaked ankle. But other than that, everybody's fine.
I think you intimated after the last game that you might look at some changes personnel-wise, lineup-wise.
Yeah, I've sort of been toying around with it all week long. I haven't come to any kind of decisions yet. It'll probably just depend on the matchup I want in the Civil War game. If that happens to be the lineup I've been using, then so be it. But I think changing the lineup for effort's sake, I don't need to do that. Everybody's effort's been pretty good at practice this week, and I expected that.
And how would you say chemistry is holding up through this losing streak? And I know Devon was saying that guys got a little selfish at the end of the last game. And
yeah, and I know what Devon means by selfish. It's not selfish in a sort of give me the ball way. It was kind of a selfishness of, oh my goodness, I have to do something to help us stop this skid, and everybody was trying on their own rather than collectively. If there's a positive spin to the word selfish, I would put that on it. But the chemistry of the team has been terrific. I mean, we've had some really this team's had a relatively good chemical year, if I can use that term. There's rarely a chemistry problem with these guys. They all like each other, they all root for each other, and they all play for each other. So the chemistry's still holding in there.
How much has Oregon developed as a team since the first time you guys played? What have you seen in them as far as?
They're a good team. From what I can tell from the early tape when we played them to now is I think that Singler's being a little bit more aggressive, trying to score. He's shooting more threes, and he's just being more aggressive offensively. And I think that Joseph is also being very aggressive offensively. Those are the main things I notice. I spend more time worrying about what we're doing.
After you beat Oregon in Eugene through that tough game that you guys got out of, did you feel like you had exercised your demons of executing late in games?
No. To be quite honest with you, I didn't think we did. We made a lot of mistakes down the stretch that we shouldn't have made, and that if we hadn't been had the lead that we had, might have cost us the game. So we spent a lot of time this week and during film sessions talking about that, and we do that constantly. I don't think we'll ever be out of that frame of mind until we are more experienced. And when that's going to be, I can't tell yet. I think we need to win some more games before I'll say it's exercised.
Despite the records, how do you feel like your team's confidence is going to be going into this game? Because, I mean, as we saw with Washington State, they're not having the best year, but when they play you, they just seem much more confident. Do you think you guys can have that with Oregon?
I think our confidence is it's sort of internally built. What's going to help us is the fact that we're playing at home, the fact that we had a good result against them last time, the fact that we know that they've got a lot to play for, so we won't need any wake-up call as to how intense the game's going to be, on top of the fact that it's a Civil War game, and then the fact that we haven't won a game in a while. So I think all of that kind of gives us a lot of stuff to focus on to do well.
Having beaten them and beaten Cal and played UW pretty closely in Zona, what's the most frustrating part of being where you're at right now as a team?
I think I'm probably less frustrated than most of our fans out there. The most frustrating thing is that these guys haven't won those games, and I'm rooting for them just as much as our fans are, because these are terrific kids who have put in a lot of work, and I think they overachieved a little bit this season, and the expectations are high, but that's how we won it. My feelings are that I just wish we could turn the corner a little bit more with the record part of it, but I know how these guys work on a daily basis, so I'm rooting for them as well as trying to help them find a way to win.
Given some of that frustration record-wise, what does it mean for you guys to be going for a sweep against Oregon?
Yeah, that's always nice. I mean, that's a good feeling, and I know how our fans and our administration and our whole program enjoys having that opportunity. Our team enjoys having that opportunity, but it doesn't mean anything until we do it, so we're not talking a lot about it. We're just trying to go to work every day and prepare to play our best game.
Coach, what do you remember about what the things you were able to do to win that first one?
There were quite a few things, Mike. I thought that at a critical time and at critical times in that game, we made truly game-winning plays, getting the loose balls, getting the rebounds, making some steals, and then converting on those steals. Jared and Ahmad hit some really big shots. I remember specifically a play that Roberto made when he was driving to the basket, and he looked like he was going to throw it to Jared, and he got bumped and got the and one. That was an important part because that made it a double-digit lead, and psychologically that gave us a boost and was a little bit demoralizing on the other end. We made foul shots when we had to. But again, as I mentioned before, we still made some of the mistakes that an inexperienced team makes toward the end, but it was just few enough so we could still win the game.
And it was also an amazing second half for Jared. On the basis of that half, he was the conference player of the week. What do you remember about what happened to him?
Well, I remember that that was one of the first games where people were just trying to bump him and get him out of his game, and in the first half they succeeded. I mean, he didn't really play a good first half. I thought he forced a couple of shots, and then at halftime, what I remember is telling him that, your good players help you win these kind of games and let the game come to you, and he did. He was more patient, even though he was doing more in the second half. And, Jared realizes that he doesn't have to score a lot of points to help us win. He does so many different things, and that's what I remember about his game, especially in that second half.
When you're on a little bit of a skid like this, what's the most difficult part about snapping out of it?
Actually snapping out of it. Yeah, that's the most difficult part, because you have to do it. You can't just talk about it. You can't just work on stuff. Then you have to execute it, and that's the hardest part. I don't think the hardest part is talking about it, at least for me. I'm pretty realistic about how this game works and how things work. I don't think it's practicing making them run until they can't breathe. I don't think that's it. I think it really comes down to actual execution after you've put in the time at practice.
Do you feel like the pressure to snap out of it is starting to build, or can it wear on you? Like, hey, man, we need to get one.
Oh, yeah, certainly. Especially for a team like ours, where we haven't lost this many in a row in a long time. I mean, we sort of, you talk about exercising demons. I thought we had exercised that one. So there's some pressure on us because we haven't done this and want to get out of it. But we can't go away from the things that we've been doing. You have to stay true to your game plan, your strategy, and keep your confidence up.
At this point in the season, is that more mental or physical, trying to kind of get it going?
I love that. That's very astute. It's absolutely mental. I mean, this time of the year is almost completely mental. I mean, guys, every team's got guys who are banged up and guys who are tired and guys who are mentally sort of checking out for whatever reasons. So this is the time of the year when you like to tail back things and get them refreshed from a mental and an emotional standpoint.
Is this the kind of year or the kind of conference where one win stamps you out of it, or is it deeper than that?
Well, I don't know about everybody else. I think for us, one win is that'll snap us out of it. That's for sure. But we don't want to. I know I've spent the whole year telling you we think of one game at a time. But that's how we think as a team. As a coach thinking globally, it's nice to go on a nice little run here that you've got 3 home games to play in a row.
Is it with the league being fairly balanced this year? Is it a challenge to get these guys to understand that there's still, with a good run and a favorable position of being at home, there's a lot to be played for?
Yeah, it is not hard to get them to understand that. They realize it. They also realize that the only way to get to the NCAA tournament is to win your conference championship. So they're not they're not in a log cabin somewhere out in the woods not knowing what the heck's going on, even though we're handling this one day at a time. They know that we need to get right, especially before the tournament, so that we can be right once the tournament starts.
And when you're playing a team for the second time in the year where you're coming off the win, is it the old formula, or do you have to change things up and look at how things are now versus when they were?
You'll have to tune in on Sunday to see. A little bit of both, John. I'm just being a little facetious. A little bit of both. We got to do the stuff we did well again. We have to bring in some new stuff. And the stuff that we did poorly, we got to fix. So it's a little bit of both. Yep, John.
One of the things you did well in that first game was the 1-3-1. Can you talk about how that was so effective against them and what you expect with that?
Yeah, when I look back on that tape and I watched it, it was just the effort the guys put forth. It was a good energy time of the game, and we needed something to spark us, because they had gone on a little bit of a run and gotten out to like a 6 or an 8 point lead, and we got a couple of steals and cut it, and they might have even gotten out to a 10-point lead. I can't remember, but we cut it down to 6 and then to 3, and then we went back to playing man-to-man. So it was a nice little sort of injection of adrenaline and excitement and to get us back into the game. And then once we got back into the game, we started making shots.
Eric Moreland had a nice game for you guys last time you played U of O. Is he going to be good to go on Sunday?
We'll find out. I think he will be. I mean, he had a tweaked ankle. He practiced today, so that's plenty. I mean, if he didn't practice all week, I wouldn't be saying this, but I would say in NFL terms, he's probable.
Coach, when you talk about you went a lot of 1-3-1 possessions, but then finished in man, if I remember, with Jared guarding DeVoe.
Right.
And Jared even said today, if I've got him, I've got to make it tough on him, and he did down the stretch in Eugene.
Yeah, he did, and that kid is, for a 1-year transfer. I mean, they've gotten the most bang out of any kind of 1-year transfer buck I've ever seen. That kid is, might be first team all Pac-12. I'm not sure. I haven't thought about that kind of stuff, but he certainly can just flat out shoot the ball, and he makes that team go. So we've got to make sure that he's under his average, and that we know where he is every minute he's on the court.
Is that a situation where you know he's going to get his points and you make sure that no one else goes off?
No, this is a situation where you don't let him get his points, because his points could be 40. You know what I mean? Some games it could be his average, but he's got the ability to he could hit 10 threes in a game, because he would take that many and make them. So we want to make sure that he has a rough night in Gill, and between the crowd and Jared and our defenses, we want to make it hard for him. Thanks, Coach. Yeah, that's it. All right.